some of your favorite and or most challenging shots, and how did you prepare to set up for that? Because this is a very different platform. You don't always get to see what you can't go out and just look sometimes, and I'm curious about that myself. So can you talk to us about how you set up a shot, plan it, and execute?
Okay, well, I mean, for most of our shots, first the director is going to come to me and tell me what the shot is, and then from a flying standpoint, I'm going to decide what is the easiest and most effective way for me to fly this path to get the shot and nail it. And so, from a flying standpoint, the best way to put the aircraft exactly where you want it is you're behind the aircraft and you fly it away from yourself. If you're flying left to right, your depth perception is really off. So if I want to draw a line really close to a building or a subject, if I'm going to fly right down the side of this theater, I'm not going to stand over in this corner and push my aircraft down the wall. Because now, either A, I got to cheat myself away from the wall, or B, if I get too close, I'm going to run into it. But if I can put myself right on the edge of this wall here, now I can pick a line right down the wall, and I can fly my aircraft 6-7 inches off this wall and confidently know I'm never going to hit it. But now I'm going to run into the problem that the back wall's there. So then, again, that's a judgment thing, and you're going to have to judge when to stop. And a lot of times people will say, well, can't you get closer to that? Well, I can't get closer to that because I don't know when I'm going to hit it.
So you definitely know your limits, and that's
yes, that's another thing, is know your limits. In this industry, you will get pushed to do things that are above and beyond your ability level, and that's something that you have to draw the line. You're the final line. They can ask you and tell you to do something, but at the end of the day, if you don't draw that safety line and you step over that safety line, that's when you get into accidents.
Okay, and last thing I have for you.
Oh, and most challenging favorite shot?
Yes.
Okay, we were shooting it was for a semi-trailer suspension company, and we were in Monument Valley, and so the commercial is going to be, it's the idea is that, it's a husband and wife sitting in a semi-trailer over the rear wheels, having a nice dinner like they're on a train because the suspension's so smooth. So now we have to be at speed, and we're forward in a chase car. We have to lock into tracking points on the semi, and lock in for about 10 seconds, and then slowly start pulling way, way, way out, so you reveal all of Monument Valley, and the semi's driving away in the distance.
Very cool. All right, and one thing he spoke to about crashing these things, and we'll address it later, but if you don't want to crash it, don't fly it. So you should always keep that in mind. It's going to happen eventually. There's a lot of things you can do to mitigate that, but one thing he didn't touch on is that parts are, about everything that we sell is what's known as hobby grade. Hobby grade means you can walk into multiple stores around the country and find parts for it. So you don't want the thing to be a piece of trash once you wreck it and winds up in the closet, like a lot of kids' toys. So that is a significant difference, and I will tell you is that they never really called me for a lot of parts, so they did a good job. He knew his limits and stuck to it. And then lastly, we're going to ask Arrow one more question here.
Let me step in there too.
Sure.
They are hobby grade, and that's something that needs to be addressed. We do this on a day in and day out basis, and these are not industrial machines. They do not work day in and day out without maintenance, replacing bearings, replacing parts. And we build our own aircraft, work on them. We do a lot of our own research and development. When we come back from a shoot, that stuff doesn't just get put in the garage. It gets taken out, everything gets gone through. You can have dry rot and solder connections, and everything on this makes it fly. You can't have multiple failures and the thing stays in the air. So the way to prevent that is to be familiar with your equipment, go through it with a fine comb when you're done. And we've been in business, without a license since 2009. 2010, we finally formed Copter Kids LLC, and we have yet to have a failure of an aircraft on a job. We've crashed them, obviously testing, crashed them in different scenarios, but on a job there has not been a failure yet or ran into something.
Great, and that truly comes from maintenance and responsible operation. So we're going to ask one more question, then we're going to roll the Copter Kids demo reel for 2014, which is very, very impressive. So I know they're working on making sure that's going to roll smoothly. So Errol's been to the show here for yesterday and today. He helped us in the booth. Was very approachable. And never told anybody who he was. He's like, "Oh, I'm here with Mark and Sony," and pitching the stuff. But I would you've heard all the questions we've gotten. Some of those we're going to address more, but if you were going to offer advice to these guys getting started in this sector, and before we do that, how many people in here currently operate multi-rotor aircraft? Okay, so about 10%, which was a fairly decent guess on that. Okay, so for the other 90%, how would you advise that these people from the film industry background, and one more survey, how many people come from an RC background, meaning RC airplanes and helicopters, anything like that? So we have about the same group of people. No. Okay, so how would you recommend that these people who haven't touched it yet get involved in this area to get started without breaking the bank, and then work towards responsible operation like you?
You know, there's really a lot of avenues into this now, which has made it really exciting. You know, for someone who's not gonna ever try and lift a big hammer, or you know, just wants to get out and have fun in the field, I think the Phantom is a great option. It comes pre-built. You don't have to have an RC background. You can be out by yourself. But if this is something you're gonna take seriously and you want to move forward with, I'd really highly recommend buying a kit helicopter, a kit multi-rotor. That means you're going to have to assemble each one of these tail booms. You're going to have to plug in each motor. You're going to have to put the flight controller on it. You're going to have to program that. You're going to program your receiver. So you're going to understand how these things work inside to out. Now, again, that might seem really, really overwhelming, but surprisingly or not, with YouTube, there is somebody who has sat there and gone step by step through every part of this. And you can pull that up on your iPad, your computer, and he will walk you through every part of it. So if it's something that you're going to take really seriously, I would definitely go with a kit helicopter. You know, here's another great version. This comes with a Sony camera, everything you see here, and a controller, battery, a hobby-grade charger. You're looking at $11.99. And now you're going to know how this thing works in and out. Whereas you can buy this, comes out of a box, ready to go. You can go play in your field by yourself, have a great time.
Well, perfect. All right, are you guys ready for this reel? I know a lot of you haven't seen it. It's amazing. One of my favorites. So if we could roll the 2014 Copter Kids